Hello and welcome to the show. We have with us Vikram Bakshi, the director of CPRL and pretty much the face of McDonald's in the last 2 decades. Thank you so much, Mr. Bakshi, for joining us in this interview. Let me start by asking, about 20 odd years ago, 15, 20 years ago, you were ready for retirement. You had done your bit, and that's when you took your shot in the dark, and McDonald's happened. In hindsight, as things stand today, with the relationship, into legal tussle, do you regret that in hindsight?
Well, I didn't know so many people have got to know about my early retirement plan then, but I did have the spoils for me to have taken the decision. I do not regret, my journey with McDonald's. It was an extremely interesting journey. The fact that when they came into India, a completely new menu had to be devised. And when I say new, because look, they didn't have beef as an ingredient at all.
Sure.
It was not only just looking at another protein product, but it was also to look and to cater to a very large vegetarian population. So to develop all those products, from scratch, the fact that you had to segregate your kitchens into non-veg and veg areas, and we did that very well. The fact that we had to communicate with the middle classes who didn't know much about McDonald's then at that stage. So I would say the journey has been very interesting, very rewarding, as long as it was going well. However, I am disappointed today. I am disappointed because I never felt at any stage of my initial journey that this is what this was going to come to. The so-called failed promises, the so-called unfairness on what is happening. So I'm disappointed because of that. Regret? No.
All right. Somewhere, always McDonald's used to be, seen as a success, always an example or a case study of success, Western food success chains in India. Others followed, tried the example, and of course now in the last decade we've seen some of them taste that success as well. But McDonald's was the first entrant there. Take us a little bit through the journey in terms of, it wasn't just the real estate aspect, was it, to where you sort of helped the chain come in? How did the joint venture work between you and McDonald's about your contribution, not just the real estate part of it as well?
First of all, I think there's some kind of a confusion in the minds of some people. Yes, I do believe I have a great understanding of real estate. However, I was the managing director of my part of the company. And this company, I was trained to understand operations. I looked after legal, I looked after finance, I looked after training. I looked after just about every department of the company. So I think it's a bit of it's a complete misconception.
You just came in as a real estate not consultant, but maybe just look at the real estate aspect of the retail business. You wouldn't say that at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think there's just some misconception because I think because of my innate understanding of real estate, and so maybe there's some confusion in people's mind, but I was the managing director operating all those restaurants, and presently the 165 restaurants that are there. So I looked after just about every aspect of the business. However, I think what is very important also to understand is that real estate was one area where most retailers were struggling.
Absolutely. It's a huge part of the business of retail.
Absolutely. And largely so, so because there was a shortage of quality real estate.
Absolutely.
We didn't have these large developments at that stage, so you were confined to only going down to the so-called high streets or some special areas that were available to you.
Sure.
And with those limitations, you had to be very creative in what you did. So I guess I do stand out, or McDonald's does stand out very clearly, having done very creative deals in such a manner that our percentage of the real estate part is as good as any mature market. So clearly we stand out, but otherwise I think the success has been largely in terms of the menu. The success has been the communication that we had with the consumer. The success has been the kind of people that we trained who were really the people who greeted you or who looked after you up there. And I think that was the first for India, for any brand.
Right. So you're part of that entire journey. It was a proper JV, as is with anyone. You know, in a recent interview, you said decision making has been slow and harming the company. You know, as things stand today, with the legal tussle which is happening. Isn't McDonald's worried, or why isn't, let me reframe that question, why isn't McDonald's sort of settling the issue which has been on for the last year and a half?
You see, that is $1 million question. And I guess the best answer you will only get from McDonald's Corporation or the people who are presently running it. Look, it's very clear that this company was set up with having a managing director. In fact, the joint venture agreement states very clearly that I was supposed to be the sole managing director for the period and tenure of the agreement, which is 25 years. So it was always meant to be a MD-run company, and that's how it was being run. The other directors only came 8 to 10 times in the year, right. Precisely for board meetings or some of the other meetings that we used to have, our planned meetings that we used to have. So effectively, we ran the show, and that's how it's supposed to be. Now, guess what? We have a board-run company. We have 2 directors from our side. There are 2 directors from their side. Now we are like opposites. Right. Every decision is kind of fought through. Decisions get delayed. And in any growing organization, and a well-established like ours, this is only going to harm the brand. This is only going to harm the company. And that is exactly what is happening.
So who is running the company currently? How is it functioning currently?
Oh, well, like this, they claim it's a board-run company. The truth is that my wife, Madhurima, happens to be a whole-time director, does take the day-to-day decisions that has to be taken, because remember, we've got to protect nearly 7,000 people.
Absolutely.
And look after their needs, their aspirations. So clearly we are doing everything that we can in terms of keeping doing. There are joint decisions to be taken. Those joint decisions get delayed. Most times because, you know, you've got to have a meeting, you've got to have the other nominee director out here, and that is truly causing harm to the company.
Let's talk a little bit about, it's a competitive market. You have so many entrants now who've been there in the last decade, came in later than McDonald's. You have Domino's, you have KFC, all of these. Aren't they sort of taking the market share, which was firmly established for a decade or so?
Look, the processes and systems of McDonald's are outstanding, par excellence. There's absolutely no doubt, and I think even our competitors won't doubt that. Having said that, you are aware today that, in fact, there was an interview just yesterday where the CEO of Domino's kind of gloated about the fact that in no other country is he double the size of McDonald's. So the fact is, yes, people have overtaken us. 2 years ago, we were by far the number 1 player. Today, we have slid to position number 3. Even KFC, which kind of had a freeze, right up from the 1994-95 to up to 2004-2005, had just pipped us. So it is not good for the brand. It's not good for our company. It's not good for what we have all worked for.
Right. So, and if this issue isn't settled, would you say this trend is sort of going to continue?
Well, all I can say is in the year 2012, we had established 27 restaurants. In the last year and a half, we have barely managed to move about 13 odd restaurants, right? It's only going to slow it much further. We do not see, till the issues don't get settled, that there will continue to be a slowdown. Having said that, I'm sure at some stage, at the moment the issues get settled, like you said, we are very well established. Consumers know us well. They know our promise, and we have fulfilled our promise all along, be it on the price, be it on the product, be it on our experience that we provide to our consumers. I'm sure McDonald's will bounce back.
Right. This case, of course, is sub judice. It is going on in CLB. The last, of course, on 25th November, McDonald's was supposed to get back with the final offer as far as those valuations are concerned. Where does that stand now?
Well, litigation's a very slow process. McDonald's never got back with any offer. It just said they wanted to continue litigation. I am most surprised with that attitude, because McDonald's has never been a litigating firm, a litigating company. But in my case, the way they went about removing me, in the sense of not re-electing me, was completely unfair. It was as if an underhand kind of a dealing. I had no option but to go to our legal system to ask for respite, because it was something that they did largely to buy me out for peanuts. Now, this is the other area which I don't understand. There is an exact clone of West and South, which is a listed entity.
Absolutely.
That entity today is listed about 5,000 crores, valued at 5,000 crores on the bourses. Not only is it valued, there have been sales made by both the promoter and the private equity firm of nearly 600 to 700 crores. So that means it's an established price today. And all that I have said is, look, there is something there, and I am taking cue from there and saying, if I have number of restaurants that will amount to so much, so this is what I deserve. But I'm still open to saying, all right, if that's not the best way, can't we do a third-party valuation? I'm absolutely open to a third-party valuation. But I truly believe that the Indian entrepreneur must get its value in any such venture. We cannot be treated as an escort services, used, abused, and discarded.
Why do you think is the situation the way it is at this point in time? You know, it was sort of a dream partnership which lasted a really long time, 10, 15 years. What went wrong?
I believe it's a question of what were their interests in terms of what they wanted to achieve. Now, I really don't know what were their interests in buying me out or pushing me into a corner. But I'm sure they have some plan. I'm sure they have a plan. But again, this is something only they can answer, because, like I said to you, just till January of this year, I get a note from our President APMEA, which says, hoping to work with you shoulder to shoulder to realize the dream of India.
That was in January.
This was in January 2013. And in August 2013, I am unceremoniously not re-elected as the MD. And that also is done in such a underhand manner. Evening before, we are sitting and having dinner, drinks, and not a word. And next day morning, the first five items on the agenda go through completely fine. And the sixth agenda of my re-election, which was, to my way of looking, was something that just was happening on every 2 years. They stood up and said, we're not re-electing you.
In terms of, we always hear the other side of how it's so difficult to be an entrepreneur in this country, which of course slowly probably the rules are changing to it. But as far as MNCs are concerned and working with entrepreneurs, tell us your views, how that journey has been and how difficult it's been at this point in time.
Well, I guess my learnings should be utilized by the future generations of entrepreneurs. We must have an equitable agreements. Now, somebody will say, what can be more equitable than a 50-50 agreement with no casting vote? But believe me, there are still clauses within the agreement which we as Indian entrepreneurs must look very, very carefully. And I'm not saying it's from any other point of this thing, but when disputes arise, you will find large corporations use everything in the book to push it out.
Have you sort of knocked on the doors of the government? Have you considered it? Because it is a large JV, a lot of FDI involved as well. It's a one-of-a-kind case that we are seeing against a multinational as well, especially in terms of, you not being a corporate house but an entrepreneur who's gone ahead. Have you thought of speaking to the government? What has that been like?
Well, I haven't really touched base with the government as yet, and I think we have a new government out there. I believe we should allow our government to settle down and decide on its policies before, we go crying with our issues. I've had innate faith in our judiciary, and I thought the very first place that I must knock at should be the legal system that needs to protect the Indian entrepreneur. I guess a time will come where I will go knocking at other doors to see what kind of help that I can get.
Right. There's, of course, the arbitration in London as well, which is currently on. Where does that stand? How is that? Is it still in its initial stages? How is that going to progress?
Well, the arbitration is, of course, initiated by McDonald's Corporation. They did that after they realized that I have gone to the company law board. And what they did in the initial stage was just not re-elect me At a later stage, they went and then, terminated the agreement, and then they initiated arbitration there. It is in the initial stage. The arbitration is in its initial stage, and I guess by middle of next year sometimes, the hearing will start.
Right. McDonald's, of course, when it decided to enter, it entered with 2 JVs. That's how they did it with India. The second JV, which was with the west side, there was a buyout of franchise there as well. There were valuations which are discussed there as well. Why couldn't it be done with CPRL?
Again, it bothers me no end every time I think about it. Because look at the situation. In 2010, 31st of March, we declare a profit of 9.5 crores. The other entity declares a loss of 19.5 crores, or close to 19 crores. And what happens? They get converted into a development license where McDonald's writes off its entire equity and preference capital for 0.1%. That means they wrote off $20 million and just took a check of $20,000. Now, it's something that I've asked them during that time, and I was only told, just wait, and we'll see what needs to be done, or the time will come, at the right time we'll do it. So instead of, giving me also the golden handshake as it has been given to the other party, they seem to be wanting to grab my 50% shareholding and I guess run it themselves. Maybe they feel this is a more profitable venture and they can manage it all by themselves.
You did have sort of I wouldn't say epiphany, but you did think there would be warning signs of this, isn't it? In terms of after you've done the legwork, probably. This was the first time that we were seeing such a JV happen as well on the scale. You did think of this in terms of exiting at some point in time, right? But you didn't think that it would happen so quickly and in this way?
Look, they spoke to me as far back as 2008. And they told me, they wanted to take over the company. And I had no issues. All I said was, give me a fair valuation and I'll go do something else. At that time, they offered me $5 million in writing. I was shocked. And I wrote back to them saying, $5 million is what I invested in this company 13 years ago, in 1995. So what is this? To which their answer was, look, the company is into losses, and therefore, actually, according to the agreement, nothing is due to you. So we're doing you a favor by giving you $5 million. Now, I don't understand how can large corporations even think of this. So what they're saying, the 30 years of my hard work was nothing, while they themselves know that the entire model of McDonald's is the same. No country becomes profitable immediately.
Sure.
There are countries, and this is something they have been stating it all along, and I don't think they will take it back now, saying it took 14 years for Australia to turn around. It took 15 years from UK to turn around. Well, we turned around in year 13. So all I'm saying is they did of this. So we knew there was an inkling of so-and-so. I always said fair valuation. We said, let's do a fair valuation. They said, no, too many variables. I said, okay, I'll do it. I did a fair valuation. The company was valued at $331 million then. I'm talking about 2008. Since then, we've added more than 50% restaurants. And at that stage, I was ready to go out on the basis of the fair valuation. Well, they didn't say anything about it. They came, they saw the presentation, went back, never said a word.
Right. Is there a big question mark from now on in terms of the expansion or, how McDonald's will be in North and East?
Well, look...
if things continue the way they are.
Well, I surely hope the better sense will prevail. And somebody will, senior enough will take a decision. We've got to move forward. Look, I have always been ready and willing to meet them more than halfway. I think they have to move from their side. Because look, even when the CLB member tried it, they blocked it. So I don't know what's really going in their heads right now. Well, if this continues, I'm sorry to say that we will completely lose our edge. There is no question that you can think that you can half the area of India, that you can allow it to completely stall in terms of its growth. And you still think you can continue, decent growth across India. I don't think you can do that.
Right. You, of course, had a tough 1.5 years. What plans for the future? Are you looking at sticking with the food retail business? What plans can you share with us at this point in time?
Well, there are no real plans other than the fact that all I have said is, look, I've had 18 years of learning and I am surely not going to throw it away. If McDonald's doesn't want it, I am sure there are other folks that can look at it. Also, at the same time, there are a lot of Indian brands that can be scaled. But, all these things I'll consider after this battle is over.
Great, Mr. Bakshi. Thank you so much for talking to us, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Great.